Welcome to Tech Talk, y'all.
Hi, and welcome to Tech Talk, y'all, episode 367. I'm Adam Walker.
And I'm Sanjay Parekh.
And it's been a big week in technology, and we have
God,
we have a huge list of articles to go through. But to start, we have to talk about DeepSeek, and I think the first 5 articles are DeepSeek. So yeah. I think we're just going to have kind of a meandering conversation through this.
Yeah,
right?
We should probably say all the articles first, and then just kind of talk because.
All right, you want to go? Just go ahead and tee us up here, then. Yeah.
Okay, so first up, a shocking Chinese AI advancement called DeepSeek is sending U.S. stocks plunging. Yeah, that definitely happened.
For sure,
Then, what is DeepSeek, the Chinese AI startup that shook the tech world?
Yeah, but
then DeepSeek, quote unquote, punctures AI leaders' spending plans and what analysts are saying.
Yep.
Then, Wiz Research uncovers exposed DeepSeek database leaking sensitive information, including chat history.
Awesome. Yes.
And then, how a top Chinese AI model overcame U.S. sanctions. There is one more after that.
Yeah.
Microsoft probes if DeepSeek linked group improperly obtained OpenAI data, Bloomberg News reports. Okay. and there's actually even more articles than this because there's things that you can't ask DeepSeek. It won't answer you properly because of where it's from.
Yeah.
So you can't ask it things about Tiananmen Square or is Taiwan is Taiwan a country? I saw this one and it said, well, Taiwan's always been a part of China and it's, and all this kind of stuff. And it's but let's talk about what DeepSeek is first.
Yeah, let's back. What is it and why does it rock the tech community so badly? Let's start there.
Yeah. So they are a Chinese-based company, AI company. They released a open source kind of model last weekend, and they claimed that they built this model with less than $50 million worth of expenses.
Wait, was it 50 or was it 5? I thought it was $5 million worth of expenses.
Yeah. So the number has moved around. So I think they said 5, but then other people were saying 50.
Okay.
And then soon after that, it kind of came to wait a minute, we think they spent 500 million maybe on NVIDIA chips. So it's not really clear how much they've actually spent. They've not detailed this.
Yes.
But basically the initial point was wait a minute, they have some advancements in their technology and their algorithms because they've been limited by US export rules. So they've tried to do some things that have made it more effective and efficient to do
energy
this training.
Efficient to use lesser chips, right? Because to back up, right? Because they were saying that they were using NVIDIA chips that were running at half the speed of the top NVIDIA chips. So these are much lesser performing chips. And that's a big deal. That's why, right? Okay.
Yeah. And they were they're also limited in terms of how many they're allowed to export to China. And I think that reduction is going down even further now, but
for sure.
But as this thing is going forward and things have started coming out, like we talked about there, Microsoft saying wait a minute, we think they improperly got OpenAI data and they use that for their training models.
Yeah.
So then is it wait a minute, did they actually train properly at less money or did they just leverage off of everybody else's stuff?
Well, and I think one of the things that I read said that they actually trained it largely by having its model ask ChatGPT questions and then log its answers. So it basically piggybacked off of an existing model, which I think would be way easier than scraping all your own data and digesting all that information.
Yeah, exactly. I could do
it's like
that.
copycat. It's literally like copying off a test. Either you're the person that studied for the test and can provide the right answers, or you're the person that can look over at the person that provided the right answers and also provide the right answers. It's way less time intensive to be that guy.
Except I think this is like the telephone game where it's you make a copy of a copy of a copy eventually down the line. It's not any good, right? It's got so many errors that have been introduced along the way that, it's like what they talk about with clones of animals and stuff, right? You make a copy.
Yeah.
The first one mostly okay, but then you kind of go down the line and you end up with arms out of your forehead or something.
Didn't mean to interrupt you. My favorite thing that's come out through this whole thing are a bunch of people tweeting, tongue in cheek for sure, but they're tweeting, Man, DeepSeek is so great. I gave it all of my passwords and financial information, and it did all my taxes for me.
Yes, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah,
I mean, our listeners are smart enough that they're never going to do that. But
it was very sarcastic. But man, it was so funny seeing some of those memes and stuff going out there. It was great. So,
and I think there's been some articles too about restrictions for government and military. Be like, don't download this and use this because all this data is going to China.
Oh my gosh. And it's apparently being leaked by China also. It's not just going to them, but it's also just out there on an open database for funsies. So that's
their app skyrocketed to #1 in the App Store over the weekend because everybody was downloading it.
That's terrifying.
Not me because I'm not on Apple. So
I would never, I'm never downloading that. That's not happening. So
yeah,
that's all right. Well, anything else related to DeepSeek, or can we just kind of move on?
I think we have beat this horse dead at this point.
Yeah, all right.
So let's move on.
Well, we're going to continue talking about AI at least for a minute because, I mean, we have to. So this one was fascinating. Citing, quote, shadow of evil, Vatican warns about the risks of AI. They referred to AI as the shadow of evil, and they talked about how AI needs to be used to supplement the richness of humanity, to supplement human activities, not to replace them,
right?
Which is all fine and dandy, except for the fact that it's going to and already is replacing. So it's already replacing so many people in small businesses way more than anyone. Like I personally am I'm able to do with AI myself and maybe one virtual assistant. I'm able to do the work that should take 5 people. 10 years ago. So it's already replaced people in my own organization. It's wild to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that the Vatican is, they got nothing else to do. They're going to chime in on this too, but
sure. Why not? Yeah.
But I think, yes, some of the fears are well placed. I think other the fears are not well placed. So,
right. Yeah.
We'll see. It's like everything else, but that being said, and speaking of shadow of evil, Trump administration accused of using AI to draft executive orders.
Did you see the screenshot examples of this?
It's just
okay. So listen,
oh my God, dude.
I use AI a lot to draft things, and so when you copy and paste, sometimes it pastes in weird, and you have to go in and fix the formatting or fix the number or whatever. Apparently in executive orders, they don't feel the need to do that. Just copy and paste it in all willy-nilly. Don't fix the formatting. Just let it. It can be A, like subpoint A, and then #1 right next to that. That's fine. There's no problem with that. And then the subpoint on that is 1 and subpoint 2. It's the 1-2 subpoint. That's great. So I can't even. I just can't even. I don't.
We might be attributing the fact that this is AI where it might just be dumb humans too.
Yeah, I mean, that's entirely possible. I just don't. I mean, most humans at least know how to use a word processor. I mean, I feel like they've been around a hot minute. So,
You have seen some of the people being nominated into this administration, right?
I can't have that conversation with you, man. We are going to go down a rabbit hole that is irrecoverable for our audience, and we're not going to do that to them. So
we'll move on.
I'm going to hold back. All right, moving on. Scientists inch closer to creating, quote, artificial sun in the search for unlimited energy. This is a reactor like the sun, and it apparently ran for 1,000 seconds, which is the longest it's ever run. So that's a pretty long time, I think, for this kind of reaction, right?
That was the crazy part of it. 1,000 seconds running it was 1,066 seconds running at 100 million degrees centigrade, 7 times hotter than the sun's core.
100 million degrees.
Degrees.
There's no words for that. I lack
you gotta use sunscreen at that point.
I feel like it should probably say something to the effect of it ran for 1,000 seconds and there were X number of scientists disintegrated in its wake. That's what should, it's like suddenly sprang up and then suddenly the scientists are just poof, they're just gone.
I mean, how do you contain this thing?
I don't know. Right? I don't have a question.
100 million degrees. We don't have what is that thing that Wolverine has? Adamantium?
Yeah,
Like,
we don't.
that's not a thing to like contain this thing. Like what kind of container? Was it like a Pyrex glass? Like what was it that they put this into?
Was it a Pyrex glass?
I'm like,
that is the question. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They didn't talk about that, but that's the thing that I'm most interested in. But these scientists, they do some crazy things. And this next one, it's like, you were probably wondering about this of like, how is this ever going to matter to us? But CERN's particle accelerator tech is being reimagined to blast cancer in under a second.
Yeah, dude.
This is why we do science. So
cool.
Because you have no idea what the side effect like results are going to be when you do crazy research like this.
That's right.
So basically they're taking the proton accelerator, the particle accelerator that they built for CERN, miniaturizing it or something, like packaging it in such a way that they can use blast of less than 1 second of radiation to kill cancer. And apparently what they've discovered is that short of a blast will kill cancer, but not really affect the healthy cells around the cancer.
Wow.
So they are deploying this into a children's hospital, I remember, somewhere here in the US, and there's a couple of other places they're testing this out. But incredible, this kind of technology to be able to kill cancer.
Well, in cancer treatments, so I host the Real Pink podcast for Susan G. Komen through our company Edgewise, and cancer treatments are getting more and more personalized and targeted in a way that the general public doesn't even understand. Like, it's wild how much more effective they are now than they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But my favorite thought experiment related to this particular article is this. So imagine you've got cancer and you're like going in for your treatment, and you have to drive to the hospital and say maybe it's a 30-minute drive. And then you walk in, that's a 15-minute walk. And then you wait in the waiting room for 30 more minutes. You walk back and you wait on the doctor for another, probably 30 minutes. So you got like all this time invested, and they walk up, they put this thing on, he's like, boop. Okay, you're done. Your next appointment is in 3 weeks. You're like what? I just spent like 4 hours for a 1 second treatment. Like that's what's about to happen. That's some next level stuff right there.
But the value of that 1 second is incredible.
Yeah. Like, we got you. Like, boop, you're good. Okay, so moving on.
I really do hope that the machine itself makes that sound. Boop.
Yeah,
that's the sound I want it to make.
And what does it tell you about my brain? That's where this is an amazing scientific discovery, and this is where my brain goes with that scientific discovery. Like right there, like that's
there's not like a where it's spinning up or anything like that. No, you're just like boop.
Yeah,
that's it.
Done. Yeah,
that's all it is. So,
all right. Next up in the new discoveries, newly discovered asteroid turns out to be Tesla Roadster launched into space. So they thought they had a new asteroid, and then it turned out it was just an Elon Musk PR stunt. So,
yep, it's the Roadster that has the mannequin in it. Littering up space.
Yeah, just throw it out there for fun.
Because that's what billionaires get to do. You just get to litter up. You can't. Littering up the earth is not good enough. We're going to just litter up space at the same time.
So that's great. So I don't even know.
I don't understand how this all works with his whole theory of taking people to Mars and everything. Like, everything that they've done. We've talked about Starlink and how that's impacting the visibility of the stars at night for astrophysicists. And then like this stuff too, like you're just junking up the path to get to places.
Yeah.
Which makes it more dangerous and more likely to have an issue, to have a rocket that goes through a unscheduled rapid deconstruction. Let's say
we don't want an unscheduled rapid deconstruction. That's bad news. That's bad news. Speaking of deconstruction, though, this next article, come on, man, you got this. It's the best.
Well, so 2 of them. Pebble is coming back, and then also smartwatch pioneer and Kickstarter darling Pebble is returning in a new form.
Yes.
So, are you a Pebble fan? Did you have one of these?
I had a Pebble. It might have been the best smartwatch I've ever had because it was an e-ink screen, and it was like this clunky, weird, funky design. And as anybody that knows me knows, I'm funky and weird anyway, right? So it had a weird design. E-ink screen would last for days and days and days, but it also would like give you notifications and stuff like that on your wrist. Like, it was so great. So yes, I'm a huge fan of Pebble. This is fantastic. So
I read this too. I saw the article about Google open sourcing this, and I was like, man, I think this might be the first time where they killed a project and then actually open sourced it so that it could live outside of the Googleplex.
Finally. Yeah. Like, so, I mean, this is so great.
Why have they not done this with all the other things that they've killed?
I wish they would. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a good move. I think it makes them look better too.
Yeah, for sure.
And for like a founder that's going to say, if you know that Google, if they're going to kill your project, then they will turn around and open source it so other people can run with it, or you could go back and run with it.
And that's what's happening here.
Exactly. I think
the Pebble founders starting it up again.
Right. I think it's much more likely that a founder then would be willing to sell their company to you.
Yes.
Because then they know, like, okay, well, if it dies, it's not going to die.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
As founders, we invest so much of our time and our livelihoods and our like effort into these things. And then seeing them die is just honestly so painful.
Yeah.
And so, Google has a lot of money and they can throw it out there for folks, but I don't think you can discount the fact that people don't want to see their creations die unnecessarily.
That's right. Yeah.
So
that's right.
Good on Google.
That's right. Good for you. Next up in the innovation category, boom. America's answer to Concorde completes its first supersonic flight. So I have a lot of thoughts on this. It's great. I think supersonic flight's amazing.
Yeah.
Buried in this article is the quote that the North Star for this particular CEO's company is that he wants people to be able to fly anywhere in the world in 4 hours for $100.
Right.
These planes are not that large. So, and they don't seat that many pounds. And his thing is like, oh, but if you can get anywhere in 4 hours, you can do so many more flights a day with the same crew, with the same stuff. But fuel costs money. I can't imagine any economics where it can get to a plane, because it looked like it was like a 50 passenger plane at most, where you can get 50 passengers on a plane, each paying $100, and it covers the cost of that flight, much less profit or any salaries or anything else. Like I just don't see that happening.
So a couple of things there. One, they have built their engines to work on biofuel-based aviation fuel. In theory, that should be cheaper.
Okay.
They're the first engine that will accept 100% biofuel-based aviation fuel. There is no other engine that does that. So that's one thing. So maybe that'll help drop the cost of that. But I thought the kind of thought experiment there was interesting. So I've never really thought about what is the actual cost, the implicit cost of a flight. Like, where is all the expenses? Yes, you're right. It's fuel, but is it also time of the equipment in the air that you can't use that for revenue generation elsewhere? And then also the labor of the flight crew that's there. So I think if you're doing faster flights, and I think you see that somewhat, right? Like if you're taking a flight on a commercial airline and the flight's only an hour and a half or something, those flights tend to be
they're a lot cheaper,
pretty cheap, right? $100, $200, something like that.
Yeah. So further you go, the more expensive. Yeah.
Right. So maybe you can't get to $100 for a 4-hour flight, but I think you can get a lot cheaper potentially.
For sure.
Because of that.
For sure. Yeah. I think the economies of scale do get, but I think it's like $500 is my guess. Not $100.
Maybe, but still it's a lot less than what and if that's anywhere in the world for $500, it's like that opens up a lot of opportunities, right? And then for the airlines, if you're cycling your equipment so much faster, then you need to have less planes in your inventory to do all those routes, right? Because basically every 4 hours you're cycling this. So, a plane can do 6 trips in a day in a 24-hour cycle.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
So I don't think that's the case for most jet planes right now, right? Maybe they do 2, 3, 4 at the most.
They do a couple. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
In a day.
You're right. So, I mean, the economies of scale get better. I just think $100 is probably unreasonably low.
I think $100 is like
I love
hyperbole.
The idea.
Hyperbole, really.
Of
kind of that theory, because we also know inflation and everything else like that. So it's a few $100, and also to only be able to sit in a plane for 4 hours,
dude.
Like that would be fantastic, right?
That would be pretty great. But then again, I mean, how am I going to binge watch all the movies that I've been neglecting to watch for the longest time if I'm not on a 15-hour flight somewhere? Like that's the other part of it. Like I don't know.
That's a different problem, and I think that might be a reason that, like, if this happens, that you might want to invest into some streaming companies, because now people are going to have to actually pay for streaming themselves and not just take flights everywhere to watch the TV shows.
That's how I watch the latest movie releases. I'm like, a movie just came out, honey. Can we fly somewhere so I can watch the movie? Is that it needs to be a 4-hour flight? There's 3 movies I want to watch. Can we take a 7-hour flight somewhere? That'd be great. So.
It might just be cheaper to just buy those movies at home.
Yeah, a lot cheaper.
I'm just
so much cheaper.
I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe Maybe not. Maybe it's because you enjoy the atmosphere of the airplane.
I love it. I love getting the little cookies. They're great. You know, the little, yeah. And like the little, like when you ask for a drink, they give you like a half a cup of like a tiny beverage. Like, love that. So great. So,
I love getting my knee smacked with the beverage cart coming down the aisle.
It's the best. It really is the best.
I mean, you can't get that kind of wound anywhere else.
So true. It's a unique wound. That's right.
It is a very unique wound. It's like a badge of honor, right? When you're limping around
for long-legged people in particular.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you're limping around, and people are like, "Oh, what happened? You hurt yourself?" I'm like, no, it was because of a flight.
Yeah, it was a flight. Yeah, it was
and just got banged
flight
there.
attendant was out to get me. So,
yeah, exactly. Talking about people out to get other people, bookshop.org now sells ebooks.
Yeah.
So I didn't
know about bookshop.org. Did you?
I was going to ask you this. Yeah, neither did I. I've never used it.
Apparently it got founded during the pandemic to help local bookstores sell books online and sort of take a portion of the proceeds, which is brilliant. And I wish I'd have thought of it during the pandemic. Oh my gosh, why didn't I do that? And they've sold like millions of dollars, put it in the hands of local bookstores. But now they're getting into ebooks. I think they're releasing an app for that. The problem is if you're an ebook reader, most people are ebook readers on a Kindle. Like that's the ultimate problem there. And I don't think this accommodates for that. So, I mean, it's cool, but I'm never going to be able to use it. So, you know.
So I just opened up their site. They say they've raised $35,859,000 for bookstores.
Yeah.
So that's an incredible, an incredible idea. So if you want to support your local bookstore, you know, and you're looking to buy a book, maybe instead of going to Amazon, maybe check this out.
Check it out. Yeah, might as well. Yeah. All right. Next up, Elon Musk's X begins to push into financial services with Visa deal. So he's trying to make, he's been saying all along he wants to make X the everything app. So basically he's going to compete with Venmo and you're going to transfer money because of the partnership with Visa. I will personally never use it, but honestly though, maybe it's better than Zelle. I hate Zelle too. So maybe I'll hate it with Zelle too. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but
I will tell you, my wife sent me this, Clark Howard railed on Zelle just recently. And it was like, you should disconnect that. Don't use that. It is bad app. Don't use it.
It's garbage. It's total
awful.
garbage.
There's no consumer protection. Yeah. You know, his bent is always consumer protection, right?
Yeah.
So that's the reason why he's railing against it. I mean, I've not really found a problem with it. Like it works pretty well for me. There's a few people that I need to pay for, you know, with Zelle, or I get money from via Zelle.
Right.
But I don't use it extensively.
I'm a Venmo fan. I like Venmo a lot. Works really well.
Why the difference? Why do you like Venmo over Zelle?
I don't know that I've ever actually used the Zelle app. I think it's just being forced into it in the direct partnership with major banks that bugs me. I think it's got this deep direct integration with my bank. Yeah. And so like a lot of people are like, oh, we got to use Zelle because it integrates with the bank. And I'm like, I think that's stupid. And I don't like that at all. So I think I directly push back because it feels like more of an institutional push than an app startup push. And so for that reason, I like Venmo better.
Yeah. So, Venmo has some interesting kind of hook-ins. I've used it. Hooking it into Amex is actually quite nice because you can actually get essentially a cash advance into your Venmo without having to pay the fees for a cash advance.
I did not know that. That's good to know. All right.
Yeah. So if you've got an Amex, link it to your Venmo account and you can transfer money in there that you can then use to transfer money to other people.
Interesting. So, all right, that's good to know.
Yeah, and it charges just like a regular transaction on your Amex. So
cash advance time, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I dig it because you know I try to limit the number of things that my bank is interacting with directly like that. So
fair enough.
I like the extra step of it. Let me pull from Amex.
I mean, plus if you got points on that Amex, like you're getting some extra points in there, like that ain't bad. You know?
Yeah, I don't know that they give you points for these charges. So
all right.
They put because they're like, look, if you're not paying fees for this, we're not going to give you points for that.
Fair point. All right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Something else that's getting points. I don't know if they're getting points or not for this, but OpenAI launches ChatGPT Gov for U.S. government agencies.
I wonder if that has better formatting for copy and paste of legal documents. I wonder. Do you think? I feel like if you're going to do that, it's got to be more, what's the word for it? Elderly friendly. I think you got to make it more elderly friendly.
I thought you were going to say dummy proof.
No. Well, that too.
Reduces
sure.
the shadow of evil a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, the concept behind this is that it has more security measures in it than other forms of ChatGPT, which I think is great. I think that's
My question is, why don't you just do those security things for everybody instead of
that's true. Yeah.
just for government?
Yeah. I don't know.
If it's safer, then why not?
I mean, it might be a cost issue. Maybe it costs more money to do that for other things. But I mean, the good thing about it is obviously government employees are going to use ChatGPT for their work. So at least this way, they're going to use the government version of it, which is hopefully going to be safer and better than them, copying and pasting out of the normal version like a sucker. So,
or it just gives a single point of attack for nefarious governments to be like, hey, all the government stuff is in this one. Well, let's just go for that one only.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Chinese government's like, oh, let's not mess with the normal one. We'll just go for the government one.
That's good for us. So I like that as a consumer. Like that, they won't mess with my version, so I'm all set. So
yeah.
All right. Speaking of companies messing with people, Logitech's peel and stick radar sensors could let companies invisibly monitor their offices. With all of the return to work mandates that are happening that Sanjay and I both think are ridiculous and disagree with, Logitech has a device that will last, I think it's like for a long time on like a D battery.
Like a year or something.
Yeah, like a year. And you just like stick it somewhere. And it's basically a radar that lets you know if there are people around. And I think it monitors like CO2 levels and a couple other things, temperature. And the concept is that they want to be able to put this in meeting rooms, and the company will be able to tell when a meeting room is being actively used, so it can schedule a different meeting room or see how much to use or whatever, which is great. I think that's a good use case of this. I think there's a lot of nefarious potential for this type of technology that I don't like at all. So
yeah, so they're using millimeter wave technology for this, which is pretty interesting to me. Some of the makers that I've mentioned in the past for home automation stuff, like Innovelli, is starting to roll out millimeter wave motion detection inside of their switches. So if you've seen the old switches that are motion detection that have like the little bulgy thing that you can tell that that's the motion thing.
Yeah.
These don't have that. The millimeter wave detector is behind the switch. So you can't even tell there's a motion detector in that switch, which is pretty interesting. And then there's another company, I've forgotten which one it is now, but I looked at their device and they were also using millimeter wave for home automation. Theirs was built such that you could actually detect and tell if somebody was standing and walking around or laying down in bed or what they were actually doing.
Okay.
So you could actually use that for home automation for, say, your bedroom to be able to be like, oh, you've laid down in bed. Let me dim the lights.
Yeah.
Or, oh, you're getting up out of bed and it's the morning. Let me turn on the lights. Let me, run the hot water, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So there's some really, really interesting stuff that I think is coming down the pike around millimeter wave, but you're right. Some of these things can be used for not so good as well.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Time for the Weird and Wacky segment.
Abominable Snowman.
He's not an axe murderer.
One of the TAs turned out to be a bot.
First up in Weird and Wacky, we've got a bunch of them this time.
Man, we do. It's going to be a good one.
There's some good ones. But first up, this is Weird and Wacky, and whew, I'm glad you're safe.
Dude.
Doorbell camera catches rare footage of meteorites striking home's front walkway. Not only is it video of striking, it's the audio as well, which has never been captured before.
That's right.
There's been plenty of video, never video from a doorbell camera, which is why this is the first time. But I'm assuming you watched the video, right?
Oh, yeah. I saw this actually on TikTok a while back. So this is old news to me, but it's fascinating. So
yeah, I mean, you watch the video and there's nothing going on, and then all of a sudden, poof, there's like this thing. And they didn't even realize what it was, and they started sweeping it up, and then later realized, like, oh, wait, this might have been a meteorite. They sent it off to be tested, and they were like, yeah, that was a meteorite.
I mean, if you were a human standing there, you would not be a human standing there any longer.
Nope,
like
you're all done.
Totally done. So,
I think, did the article say how fast it was moving? Like meteorites coming into the earth, they're moving at a very high rate of speed.
Yeah, I don't recall it saying that. But man, that was crazy.
And the guy said he was like standing basically in that same spot a few minutes before that. He was like taking his dog out for a walk or something like that.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Timing is everything.
All right, next up, we got an amusing video for you. I built an omnidirectional ball-wheeled bike. So imagine a bicycle that sits on top of what looks to be like giant exercise balls, like those ones that Dwight was bouncing up and down on The Office and Jim poked it with the scissors and popped it like that, those types of balls. And it can move in any direction that you want. And I can't imagine what this would be used for or why it would be used, but it's fascinating.
Because
and
it's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
To me, this is like a Tron bike. This is like a futuristic, high-tech bike. The Tron bike couldn't move in any direction that it wanted to. It was only,
I feel like the Tron bike's a high-tech motorcycle, and this is like a lower tech novelty. That's what it feels like to me. But I mean, maybe not. I don't know.
I think if you could commercialize this thing, this would be awesome on the road. Like literally, this would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be very different looking, I think. But I can imagine like two giant balls for wheels, rolling down the road. Like I could be pretty interesting. You'd have a lot of maneuverability, that's for sure. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like you can just turn on a dime and you can move sideways. Like imagine changing lanes in this thing. That's like instant.
It'd be crazy. Just jump right over. So there you go.
Exactly. Next up, this is another Shadow of Evil thing. Google Maps will change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, but only for the people in the U.S. For people in Mexico, it'll still say Gulf of Mexico, and for everybody else, it's going to say both names.
Yeah.
What does this get us? I don't understand what this gets us.
I don't. Pride? I don't know.
I'm still going to call it the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, the last time I said the Gulf of Mexico? I don't know. I was probably in junior high.
Yeah. When you were filling out a map in a geography class in high school, that's when you said the Gulf of Mexico. Every other time it's the Gulf. And it just doesn't matter. I don't really even refer to it because first of all, I don't live on it. And also it's not anything that I actually ever think about. Yeah, it's
like of all the things, like that thing that they talk about, like guys, and I don't know if this is true of you, like most guys think about the Roman Empire like once a day or something.
I do not. No.
Yeah, I've never thought about the Roman Empire, by the way.
Unless I'm watching. I am now because you just said that.
Right, exactly.
Otherwise,
exactly. Just naturally, I never think about it unless I'm watching like one of those Roman movies or something like that. Maybe, and it's only because I'm watching it, but that's like this. Like I have never really thought about the Gulf of Mexico.
It's crazy.
Like,
all right. Next up, which is also, this is a very strange one. Christopher Walken hates technology. No phone, uses satellite TV.
More cowbell.
So he's in the Apple TV show Severance. And in order to see his performance on the show, Apple had to ship him a DVD of which I don't even know that exists. Like, I don't know that you can buy a DVD of season 1 of Severance. Like, I'm not even sure that's a thing.
I think it was maybe custom burned for him.
But they sent that to him and he watched it. Like, he doesn't do email. He has no cell phone. He just doesn't like technology, not interested in technology in any capacity whatsoever.
I honestly love it. And he talks about how he does his jobs, and he's like, he doesn't really plan. And when he's done with one, then he looks around and it's like, oh, that's interesting. Let's go do that one. Well, and then he says it's based on like who's working on it or where it's going to be filmed or whatever. Like, he doesn't really plan for his career. And what's amazing is he's had an incredible career.
Such an amazing career.
I love him as an actor, and I kind of love him a little bit more now because he hates technology.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, we love people that hate technology on a technology podcast, which is a great juxtaposition. But here's the thing. So I think he's done some theater work, right? Yeah. And I saw this interview with Will Ferrell, and Will Ferrell was explaining how Christopher Walken was explaining to Will Ferrell that Will Ferrell ruined his life because of the SNL cowbell skit. Because for those of you that are not familiar, it's anyway, he's on SNL. There's a rock band. Will Ferrell's doing a cowbell, and Christopher Walken is the producer. He keeps walking on the set saying, "We need more cowbell." It's one of the greatest skits of all time. And but Christopher Walken communicated to Will Ferrell that he ruined his life because people will come to the theater show that he was currently doing like recently and will bring cowbells and ring the cowbells at the end of the show. So like, he's done this huge prolific career. And he's like really widely known for this one SNL sketch that was amazing. So
it is. I mean, I said it at the front of this story too. Like, it's a great skit.
It is,
and
so
it's
good.
hilarious.
It's so
and
good.
it's
Yeah.
and it's not really about the cowbell. It's about his performance.
That's right. Yeah.
Asking for more cowbell.
It's so good.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, why the rich love digital shoplifting. I did not know this was a thing until I read this article, and I was floored by it. So apparently there's this very prolific trend, like where like 60% or something of the more wealthy Zennials, I think it was Zennials, Gen Z, will order a product online and then claim and get the product and then claim they never got the product and dispute it on their credit card statement to then keep the product for free. Why?
Just so we're clear, that is fraud. And not only fraud, but because you've done it through the mail system or through a package system that's gone across state lines, that's potentially a felony, and that can land you in prison.
Yes. Like, I don't like, this is the most bizarre thing.
Worth a $50 product or a $10 product or even a $1,000 product?
Like, reading the stats on this article was staggering, and they basically all look at it as like, oh, it's okay because the company can handle the loss. I'm not hurting anybody. It's like a shopper's rights.
Except the way the company pays for those things by raising the prices on everybody else that's buying that product.
It's so bizarre and crazy. Or
they pay for it by having to fire people because they can't afford to pay people.
Yeah,
because you're stealing products from them.
Yeah. It hurts me. It just hurts me. So
if you can't afford it, don't buy it.
Don't buy it.
That's the simple thing. Like, I don't understand people that are like, well, I can't, but I'm still going to buy it.
So crazy.
And I'm going to pay for it for the next 800 years on it. Don't do that. Just don't buy it. You don't need it.
Yeah.
If it's not critical, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Talking about something else that's not critical and you probably should not buy.
And super funny.
This is
super funny. And kind of terrible, actually. Really, really terrible, but funny.
When we get down to it.
Yeah.
Man launches quote unquote villain for hire service where people take him down to become heroes. So this was where was this? This is in the Philippines?
Yeah.
The Philippines?
Yeah, I think something like that. I don't remember.
Malaysia.
Certainly not America. Yeah. Right.
Malaysia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this guy, apparently people keep telling him he looks like a criminal.
Yeah.
Just based on his looks.
Right.
He was like, let me make some money doing this. So you can hire him to be at a certain place to harass you or your loved one or whatever, and then give you the opportunity to beat him up or take him down.
Like stand up to him and look like a super courageous hero. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one story in there where like the guy hired him, and then the guy, like, they met up at this certain location. The guy goes to the bathroom. So the quote villain for hire goes and starts kind of harassing the girl. And then the guy walks out and sort of, runs him off. And I'm like, okay, so that's funny in a sense. But then, like, think about it from the girlfriend's perspective. Like, she's probably like legitimately scared.
Right.
Like, in this situation. And like, what kind of crappy boyfriend do you have that you feel like, seriously, like, you got to, the whole
show
thing
your masculinity by,
it just irks me. It's funny. I tagged it because it's a quirky, weird, funny thing.
Yeah.
But it also is really kind of terrible and irks me. So,
there's a section of the article too that says, like, this guy is not thinking this through. In Malaysia, individuals found guilty of sexual harassment could be forced to pay compensation for any financial or emotional harm caused.
Yeah.
Furthermore, engaging in inappropriate public behavior that causes distress could result in up to 3 months in prison.
Yeah, he could get
or a
lots of
fine
trouble.
or both.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's a terrible idea.
Dude, he's getting like $20-something US, about 100 ringgit for doing this. I don't think that's worth 3 months in prison.
Oh, but he does charge more if it's a weekend harassment.
Well,
so, I mean, if you got to harass someone on the weekend, you got to charge more.
It's like $30 then.
Everybody knows that. So.
Yeah, clearly.
Tech wreck, time to get your tech wreck.
Tech wreck. Chicky.
Tech wreck. Time to get your tech wreck.
Okay, Adam, it is tech wreck time. What do you have for us this week?
All right, I'm going to recommend let's see, B-Sign LS03 aluminum laptop stand. So as you know, I've been sort of reconfiguring my desk. I needed a new laptop stand. The one that I previously had was stolen by my teenage son. And it was also actually like really expensive. It was an aluminum laptop stand, but it was actually like pretty expensive. Well, like 30, 40, 50, I forget. It was a lot.
It sounds like you might need a villain for hire to go get you that back.
I might need that. This laptop stand is aluminum, and it came in like 2 pieces, and it sort of snaps together. It was very cheap. but the quality of it is very good. Like it looks nice. It feels nice. It's not wobbly at all. Like it works really well for the price. So I'm extremely happy with it. If you need a laptop stand, it's for sure worth looking at. So, yeah.
So I was going to ask that. So being aluminum, it's probably pretty lightweight. So you don't have any issues with it wobbling or.
Yeah, it doesn't wobble a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, in my laptop, I mean, bear in mind, like it sits and I use a different keyboard. So I don't really, but so it's just sitting flat, but it's got like a nice space underneath. Like I got some like pins underneath it. So like it's got some storage there. Like it's a really good, it looks good. It works well. Like it was like, I forget, 20 something bucks. It was so cheap. It's great. So if you need a laptop stand, check it out.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
All right, Sanjay, what do you have for us this week?
So I've got something that, man, there's a bunch of these coming out, but basically it's called co.dev, co.dev, and it's a AI-based software development tool. So you can go in there and explain the thing that you wanted to build, and it builds it for you. Yeah. Like soup to nuts kind of thing. They're using Supabase as their database backend, which is fantastic. I love it. Yep. But you can run it on their platform as well. So you don't even have to export the code anywhere. Like once you build it there, it just goes and you can build little things. So these folks just went public a few days ago. They were number one on Product Hunt the day they launched. And they are a Y Combinator company. There are a number of other alternatives as well. Yeah. But this one looks interesting. They does some neat things.
So I'll tell you, I've been using lovable.dev for the same thing. Yep. And I mean, I was floored. Like I had an idea for an app and I went in and described it. And literally within 5 minutes, I had like the first beginnings of a working minimum viable MVP prototype. Yeah. I mean, it's shocking. It probably ended up taking me 3 full days of kind of going back and forth and lots of prompt engineering to get it working correctly. But now, I mean, I've got a legit app that sort of helps students. It's called StudySyncAI.com. If anybody wants to check it out. It's not quite ready for prime time, so I'm not like promoting, but I mean, it's there, it works. It's really interesting. It's been a really fun thing to work on. So
yeah, I think these tools that are coming are going to make it much easier to launch an MVP. That so said, easy. I don't think they're ready for full prime time, like the apps that they build. I think you still have to go in there and monkey around with stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of tweaking. Yeah.
So, this is, I think, for people that are on the cusp of doing software development or know enough that they can go in and monkey around with stuff and figure things out and wire things up. Yeah. Like I think you told me you had to wire like 7 different services.
Oh, so many. Integrate so many APIs. Yeah, it's wild.
I mean, it's not like fully just like, but tell it to go and be done. You got to do some work.
But let me just describe to our listeners the power of this kind of tool because it's wild. So I was building my little app and I had this idea like, oh, I probably should integrate this with Email Octopus's API so that I can send out marketing emails. Once somebody signs up, they get a series of marketing emails like automation. And so from that idea to finishing the following took this long. So I had the idea, I had to create the account. Then I integrated with the Email Octopus API. Then I deployed all of that and tested it as a user from start to finish. Idea to finish testing took me 10 minutes.
Crazy.
That should take a half a day. Like that was insane. 10 minutes is how long it took. It was wild. So anyway. Yeah.
So look forward to crazy apps being built all the time nowadays, just cluttering up the internet. So we're going to move on from poorly written content from AI to poorly written apps from AI. So
I mean,
here we go.
Maybe poorly written. We'll see. All right, Sanjay, how can our listeners find and connect with you?
They can find me at my website, sanjayparekh.com. What about you, Adam?
They can find me on my website, adamjwalker.com.
Dun, dun, dun.